Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, but in today's video I'm going to be showing you the PMDG 737-800 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This is not yet released, but it will be coming out hopefully fairly soon, and you'll be able to get your hands on it and take it into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This is the 737-800 variant. That's what's going to be in this package, and I'll show you the different variants that you get, but different versions of winglets and sharklets and so on. PMDG has added some new details, obviously, to take advantage of Flight Simulator 2024, so we will take a look at those in today's video. We've got things like fun little Easter eggs, animations, click spots, and as well as a reworked flight and ground handling model and sound model as well in the cockpit. So yeah, stay tuned and we'll take you through all of that, as well as having a bit of fun flying the 737 around, something we don't do. In my day job, I currently fly Boeing 777s, and I've recently also been flying, obviously, Boeing 787s, so it's good fun for me to compare it to those, as well as, of course, our beloved A320 series. It is a very different machine. If you haven't flown the 737, I think you will enjoy today's video just to see some of the differences that go into operating it, and certainly flying and landing it. This aircraft will, like I say, be hopefully released soon. It will be a paid aircraft for Flight Simulator 2024. If you already owned it in Flight Simulator 2020, then there'll be a significant discount for it, or a substantial price reduction is the wording I should use there. That's the word from PMDG. But otherwise, if you don't own the 2020 version, then it will be priced similar to the other PMDG aircraft. Right, in today's video, we're going to be operating out of Faro, so let's get started and enjoy the video. As expected, then, here in the menu, we have a few different versions. So we have the 737, we've got the passenger variants, then we have the freighter variants over here. So if we go to configure, you'll see that you got this sort of freighter version, then you can have split scimitar winglets or blended winglets. So these are the newer sort of style. Then you have the older blended winglets, and that's true on the other variants as well. This is all, like I say, this is all the 737-800. But yeah, you get quite a few different options inside of that. So what we're going to do today is take up, you've got the business jet version as well over here, blended winglet, a split scimitar winglet down here. So if we choose one, then you can configure also the cabin layout as well. So I got high density, 2 class and single class. So yeah, lots and lots of options, and obviously your liveries are within this menu. So let's take a split scimitar winglet single class aircraft up. All the options you could want. That's PMDG's sort of thing, isn't it? They know the 737 inside and out. So yeah, let's get it in the air. So let's start by taking a look at the exterior model of this aircraft in Flight Simulator 2024. Now 2024 does bring some graphical improvements to aircraft, but I do think that they already looked very good in 2020, I must confess. But here we go, here is the 737-800 from PMDG in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This is your first look at it. And yeah, it looks fantastic. It looked great in the previous simulator, and it still looks great here. Some things that I noticed from my personal use of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is the jet blast is significantly improved. It never looked very good in 2020, and now in 2024 we get this sort of much more convincing, much more aggressive jet blast sort of coming out the back of the airplane. I still don't think it's perfect, but I think it's certainly a lot better than it was, and it's as good as I'd like it to be or expect it to be. So yeah, that's nice to see that come along. As you look around the airplane, it's still a very clean machine, but the details are here. PMDG knows this aircraft inside out. That's going to be a bit of a theme of this video, really. So you'll just see all the details over and over again. You'll be used to 737-800s. I mean, they have been around in flight simulators for a long time, but this is that extra level of detail. And you're going to see as well that it's that extra level of choice you get for what fit of aircraft you want. So this is a specific model, but there's all sorts, whether it's those split scimitar winglets, or which sort of landing lights you have fitted, what sort of brakes you're using on your aircraft. You can really customize it down. Now you will notice a slight flickering in the engine, although I'm not noticing in the stream or my recording. Very strange. It might appear in the video at some point. It's just down to the frame generation. It does now work. But weirdly, I can see it on my main monitor, but not my recording. So there we go. Anyway, if you do notice that, that's frame generation, not the PMDG aircraft itself. But there we go. You'll notice that the textures are all there, as you'd expect. The details, the dimensions are all spot on. I mean, you really can't expect anything else from the PMDG 737. Now, something that is quite nice is the lighting is improved in 2024. So I just want to take advantage of that for a second, and we'll just set the sun a little bit lower, and you'll start to see some nice little extra bits to it, which is something we do see in Flight Simulator these days with the high-end aircraft. But you see this rippling in the metal parts of the fuselage where the spacers and the ribs of the aircraft are all sort of just about indenting in the airframe where the sort of structure's put together. And if I just get it just the right point, there you go, you can see it running down the fuselage there. I think the airplane is really nice in this sort of light. Yeah, lovely. I do like PMDG's house livery as well. Very, very pretty livery to work with. But yeah, there you go. It looks great. Inside the aircraft now, and I will set up the airplane and we'll go flying, I promise. But I want to show you a few things that are sort of extra now in this version. So there's a few Easter eggs around. I'm not going to show you them all. PMDG I think wants you to have the chance to discover them for yourselves. But yeah, there's some rather interesting notices up here that can appear, and you can cycle through them. There's lots of click spots around the flight deck as well. Ones that you're used to, like the jump seats coming up, and then ones that perhaps are a little newer, such as you can have a freshly brewed cup of coffee. And I've seen that, there we go, without a lid as well. So there's some nice details, and there's plenty more. And like I said, I don't want to ruin them all really, but the cockpit looks fantastic as you'd expect. Now another thing that works is that if we go into the cabin, we have the new sort of Boeing skylight interior. I like it. I do think the 737 feels a little more cramped inside than the A320, but this is quite clever locker space. It's what they use on the 777 as well, this sort of shape of locker. So yeah, I quite like that. We have automatic cabin lights, but if I turn that off, then we can do it ourselves. But I must confess, I am not particularly good at... there we go, it is working. You can just about see up there the lights coming on and off. I'm not very good at using this system, so I don't fully understand it. So I'm sure I'm doing things wrong, but I have been able to play around and get the lights to do different things. The only thing I'd like to see... Oh, sunrise sunset. Maybe that's going to be it. I'd like to see a few more colours. I know that you can get sort of LEDs in Boeings these days. They come out with all sorts of nice different shades, don't they? But yeah, so if you are so inclined, you can come out here and you can mess around with the cabin lighting. I, however, obviously will just go to automated. I do anything automated if I can, and I think it should then work throughout the flight. But look at this. We can even try out the lockers, and I'm sure there's all sorts of fun things that you might discover. I mean, I can't believe they all open. This is what's going on with this aircraft. They're going for this extra level now compared to just the having the systems and performance. You were seeing a few little things added in, extra little details. I'd be impressed if we could lower the seat backs as well. Something you can do now, which I haven't seen before in a PMDG, is you can set your window shades as well. And the windows have really nice reflections on them. Look at that. I think it looks very nice. So that is a neat little addition. I haven't actually explored down the whole airplane, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's more things for us to go and look around. Do these work the right way? Yes, they do. Look at that. Oh, wow. And I suspect you could open that door, but I don't want to try that. Now, there's the seat to get. This is the best seat, surely. Look at that. Fantastic. Wing view, leg of space. Brilliant. So, yeah, there you go. Back on the flight deck then. Oh, and let's have a quick look outside. Let's just enjoy the lighting in the dark as well, because the lighting engine in 2024, I don't know if it's called an engine, but the lighting effects certainly improved, I think, over 2020. You've got much smoother shadows as well. Looks really nice. But there we go. Beautiful. Yeah, very good. Right, in the cockpit, let's just make it a little brighter for our recording. In the cockpit, and it's no surprise, we have a million different options you can choose from. But what is new is we have new sound recording. So I'm going to just stop talking and turn up the microphone, the audio, and let you listen to some of the sounds and clicks as we go around the cockpit, just to give you an idea. So PMDG is very proud of the sound work they've done. They called it 3D audio. Let me just make sure I get that right. It's called Spatialized 3D Sound Source. So yeah, each switch has a lovely satisfying clunk to it and does sound different to each other. So that is really nice. I do like that. It is a key part of these airplanes. They're noisier than you imagine, but sadly in most airliners the overwhelming noises of the air conditioning just blasting through the cockpit, keeping all the avionics cool. But yeah, nice sounds, and it's nice to see some more attention to detail being put on the sounds and some of these fun things that we enjoy around the airplane. Like I say, like the little things that you can click on and just discover as you go around the airplane. Good. What I'm also going to show you is obviously we're going to take the airplane for a flight, because they've had to work on the ground and flight model for this aircraft to make it compatible and take advantage of 2024 systems. I already thought the 737 from PMDG flew very nicely in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So yeah, I have no worries about it performing well here. We obviously have PMDG's latest tablet, which is just very easy to use. We've got the performance figures in here, which I've already loaded up. We've got a V2 today of 143. We're on the autothrottle system, and we're going to take off, and I will arm LNAV and VNAV. I think that's what you do on the 73, certainly what you do on the 777. And we've done our performance, and obviously you've got your usual bits in here. You can load in your route, you can sort out your ground operations, and you have your full flight bag if you choose to load in your SimReef flight plan. At the moment it just has the one from the aircraft. And then weight and balance you can load in. So I've done that. I like the randomized load. Right, I think it's time we get the airplane into the air and have a bit of a go at flying it. Okay, looking down the runway 28. We're going to take off and depart to the right. We're going to release the parking brake. We're going to stabilize the engines. A bit of forward pressure on the yoke. These engines are quite slow to spool up, but there we go. We have a double D rate today, so we have takeoff 2 and then a sail temp of 44 degrees. Anyway, we hit this little cross, this little screw here, and it acts like the toga buttons on the throttle quadrant. So if I press that, that drives them forward to the takeoff thrust position, which today is, like I say, D-rated, 85% M1. There we go. And we've got M1 and toga. Roaring down the runway now as we approach 80 knots, stick to neutral. And we can, or yoke to neutral I should say, and we see the flight directors are engaging. Now the yaw is actually quite nice. I've got pretty benign winds here. We're going to try some interesting things with that later to test out that ground sort of air handling transition, but it feels pretty good to me. V1, rotating the airplane. Oh, a little bit sporty on my rotation there. That would yeah, you'd have felt that. And positive climb, positive rate, sorry, I'm getting confused between Airbus and Boeing here. And the landing gear can come up, and we're underway. So this is a very conventional airplane, the 737, even though this is a relatively updated version of it, of course. So things like trim and pitch are all going to need to be handled in a traditional sense. When the thrust comes off, the nose is going to drop on us. So I'm just going to leave it here. I've got no autopilot in at all. It's just at the takeoff trim setting. As we get through 1500 feet, I'm expecting the power to come back and the nose to drop. So let's see if that does happen. It should transition because we're in VNAV, so it should transition to climb. There it goes. Oh, actually, there's no power change because we did such a D-rated takeoff, it hasn't had to. So out of interest, I'm just going to disconnect the throttle, take the power off, and the nose, yep, comes dropping down immediately. So that's good. Stick a load of power on, and I would expect the nose to rise. I'm not doing any inputs on the yoke here. The yoke is sitting neutral, and that thrust, I'm just going to fly the wings over to the flight director. Thrust should pick up underneath. Yep. Good. So we know the autothrottle's off. Let's rearm it and let's put in the autopilot. And we're in N1 LNAV VNAV speed, acceleration to 230 knots as per the VNAV plan. We're above the 1 speed, and we can bring all the way flat all the way to up actually. So we're in N1 LNAV VNAV speed, climbing to, let's just climb to 6,000 feet officially. We're just going to stay in the area as I'm flying. Nice views out there. So I'm just flying the airplane up here to loop around and come back in for an approach. But what I would like to show you is that they've reworked the pylon animation for the turbulence. So let's give ourselves a bit of that to deal with. So if I put in a light thunderstorm. So yeah, reworking of the leading edge and pylon and engine animation and Wingflex animation for turbulence. Now the question is, frustration I have with Flight Simulator 2024's weather engine is that when you put in weather, it can be way off in the distance. I like it sort of right where I am, but hopefully we can see some turbulence, or I'll add some in. Let's see if I can make this happen for us. Now unfortunately I can't fly the aircraft from the drone view, but if I take out the autopilot and then we hop outside, we can see some of the wing flexing here, just to give you an idea. Now remember, wing flexing is quite subtle on real aircraft. You rarely can actually see it from outside the airplane, but you can just about make out that these are bending. And what I like is it looks relatively natural. It's quite subdued. That's something we'll have to just test more using this aircraft in different weather conditions and environments. But there we go. Yeah, that looks pretty good there. You can see that wingtip wobbling. If I jump to the drone, yeah, there we go. Finally getting some turbulence out of it. So yeah, that'd be pretty severe. You'd feel that on board, that's for sure. Now this is a 737, so don't expect it to do a lot of things for you. We need to put in the runway course, so 282 degrees, which is the RNS we're going to fly, 109.5 frequency. And you can see down here, I can actually just type this in, which is a really nice feature. This is better than some 777s have fitted. That's because this is still a modern aircraft in its own way, although we all know, obviously, that there's lots of things carried over from previous designs to keep it a continuous type rating. But what that does mean is, I'm just going to put the that altitude in, so we'll just send to 3,000 feet and join the ILS. 3,000 in the window. We're going to be in LNAV. Let's go into VNAV. Let the aircraft do that, and we'll set QNH. Good. Yeah, so there is a lot of different equipment that's been fitted to these aircraft over the years, and as I alluded to earlier, that is still all available here. PMDG don't mess around. You'll be familiar with this by now because this was in 2020, but if I go into, not FS Actions, sorry, if I go to PMDG setup, aircraft, and you can choose all the equipment you fancy. You don't like the Collins MCP, the motor control panel up here? Well, why don't we have the Honeywell version? The much older version. You can actually make your airplane quite out of date if you want. What does it do after takeoff? Does it go to wings level or heading select if you don't have a runway? Can you do a glide slope capture before the localizer? And this just goes on and on. Double D rate for the takeoff thrusts. What coordinates do you want it to do? What do you want it to say? When do you want it to call out? And you can have it as an ETOPS capable aircraft, yes or no. You've got this little placard, qualified for extended overwater operations, no thank you. There we go. Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's 18 pages in here, and I can't imagine an option. Do you want steel or carbon brakes that you could possibly want extra auto probe heat? I've never flown a 737. I've flown the simulators of them, but I've never flown the full-sized aircraft. So I can't speak to the reality of this, but there are pilots out there. Flight Deck Sim for one will be able to tell you what of these features is something that you might see on the line, as it were. And it carries on more and more in displays. You can choose how you want your display set up as well. Key thing that I would recommend you change is track up. For some reason PMDG always leaves that as yes, and then you have track up here. I really don't think that's a very common option. I think no, but perhaps I'm completely wrong there. There must be a reason they do that, but they've always done it on all their aircraft, so I always have to change that, and in all the variants as well. But there we go. So loads and loads of options, absolutely ridiculous. Different alerts coming through, and this leads into something a bit deeper, which is that this is obviously a serious underneath simulation, and PMDG is keen to emphasize that, but they've taken a bit of extra detail on the sort of the gameplay aspects of this aircraft for this update in 2024, because 2024 does bring a lot of sort of interaction options, things like the walk around and so on. But the systems, it's still the same PMDG 737 underneath all of that. And just to demonstrate that there is a bit of extra fun to be had on this one. One last Easter egg I'm going to show you. I don't want to do any more, but this is my favourite one I found, which is if you pull out the manuals, a load of old food falls out, which is incredibly common. You should see, pilots have to eat in the flight deck. Flight decks do get incredibly dirty, and having crumbs and food around is not uncommon. I've walked in flight decks and seen more food on the floor than this, I can tell you that. So yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, there's lots more. I won't spoil them all, but that's one of my favourite ones I found so far. So we're descending down into Faro, and what I'd like to do now is we'll just do a normal landing and just see how the handling of the aircraft feels. So I'm not too worried about minimums today, as it's an absolutely beautiful day, but we'll just put in 320 feet, why not? Name of the channel, we'll put in our auto brake setting. Let's go for auto brakes 3, and we will do a flat 30 landing today with idle reverse. Incredible approach speeds in the 737. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. 144 knots. The 777 flies slower than that just on landing. I don't know how it's ended up like that. But yeah, we've got the ILS tuned India Foxtrot 282. We can just check that on our chart. India Foxtrot 282. And we've tuned the course 282 degrees up there, which is a bit of a pain, but there we go. That's what we have to do. It's the 737. And I know those of you who simulate a lot of flights in the 737 enjoy the sort of the engagement of it, if that makes sense. How engaging it is to fly, because you have to think of all these things. You can go up here and you see the cabin altitude and the pressurization system working. We were supposed to cruise to 20,000 feet today. And there's little details, like you'll see a slight cabin climb and descent during the cruise as the toilets flush, things like that. And that happens. That's noticeable. On the A320, you can see that. The cabin altitude goes up and down. The cabin climb and descend goes up and down. It's down here on the Airbus, on the EFIS screens that you can. But that would be because the toilets obviously use vacuum pressure, so they suck a bit of pressurization out of a bit of air out the cabin as they flush. Things like that. It's all in there. PMDG are also keen to point out that Boeing have used this is a licensed Boeing product, but Boeing have used some of their simulations in some form or another. I'm not exactly sure what, but yeah, there we go. So there is the detail underneath. Another little thing, of course, we have the HUD, as we said, something I'm used to on the 787, but it's very similar. It looks very similar, but it's slightly different to the one I'm used to, but I'm not going to use that for today's landing. But you can also simulate having the noise cancelling. So if you click on this headset, I'll just turn it up. There you go. Now PMDG says it's not a new sound set. What they've done is they've added a sort of a filter over the normal audio to act like it's noise cancelling. So it gives that sort of muffled sound. Pretty good to me. I spend my life using noise cancelling headsets. I don't sit on the flight deck often, except maybe when you're oceanic over a lot of water. I'm going to slow down actually. Let's speed into beam. So do that. Slow down. Bring up the first stage of that. But yeah, that is now fitted, and it's actually quite nice. It's incredibly fatiguing not having noise cancelling. Now it's a bit loud, perhaps. What it's doing is it's cutting out that rushing air noise, which is pretty accurate. That's about what you'd expect it to do on the real aircraft, because that's what noise cancelling is so great for. Why is there a flap 2 setting? Right, let's keep the speaker back to flap 5. Coming for the turn. This is not a very efficient approach. I'm just aiming at the Faro. Coming back to flap 5 and wait to turn on to OS. Something that the ANC also does is it cancels out a bit of the engine whir. I'm not familiar with how loud the engines are on the 737 flight deck, but there is a bit of a thing with noise cancelling headsets that you might miss out on a bit of engine audio if there's something funny going on with the engines, or maybe just a cue. Let's just arm the localizer. Maybe just a cue of where the power is sitting. But having said that, on the 777 certainly, and the 787, it's unusual to be able to hear the engines at all except for takeoff. Otherwise you can't really tell what they're doing. They're just too far behind you. I don't know if the 737's the same. Probably a bit noisier because it is obviously a bit shorter, so you're only this far from the engines. But there we go. Right, hopefully we'll inset that localizer before the glide slope. I might need to descend a bit further to do this. Yep, it's carrying on down to 2,000 feet now for the platform altitude. We have path, get the speed brakes out. There's a bit of an aggressive recapture. There we go, VOR localizer. So now I can arm approach. So this is, I'm going to leave the noise cancelling on the headset just to try it out for this approach. I quite like it so far. You've sort of got a muffled sound of the engines, but it's not quite as good as the normal noise. There's a radio altimeter coming alive. We have the new style, the sort of the text box, but you can have a round one. What we actually have there is the angle of attack indicator. Again, all of this can be changed in the menus and the settings if you would like to. Lovely calm winds today for this landing to try it out. Flat 5, we're at 170 knots. All looking pretty reasonable. Yeah, lovely calm day. Maybe we'll put a bit of wind in. Seems a bit of a shame to land in perfectly calm conditions. I need to give myself an excuse as well. So let's just up the wind and let's drag it round. Let's have it coming off the sea. Bit of a sea breeze. 240, 14 knots on the ground. So it'll be a bit more up here. Yeah, 22 knots. Excellent. MCP speed and glide slope. Let's lower the landing gear. I'll arm those speed brakes for landing. And we'll go for the next stage of flap. And we'll wind the speed back. That's flap 15. I keep looking here to see the flap settings. That's where it is on the triple, but of course it's up here. So let's go down to flap 25. And we've got our approach speed in 149. And I'm going to engage the second autopilot channel. I don't know whether you'd always do that on the 737, but hopefully in a moment. We've got MTP speed. VOR lock glide slope, says single channel, but we have both autopilots engaged. I think it will convert to engaging all of the sort of the extra bits for an auto land like it would on the triple. We shall see. There's view of the runway, wind coming from the left, sun in our eyes, so it's breezy, it's sunny. That's our excuses for today. Excellent. Yeah, I do like this ANC. It reduces some of the fatigue. Definitely, I think it's quite pleasant. Just like the real thing. I like that. We've got autobrake 3, flap 30. We are configured. Let's have a look at that wing. There it is. It's funny how the flaps have barely changed on the 737. Still got double slotted Fowler flaps, despite having all these fancy winglets on the end. They haven't changed anything else about it. Quite something. There's a sight we've all seen before. 737 coming into Faro. Love it. There we go, it's gone command. I think it's engaged everything. Flare mode is armed as well, so it is ready for an auto land. But let's take out the autopilot. And if I set the throttles to the right place and disconnect them, hopefully there won't be too much trim change. Auto throttle is off. And you'll see we immediately crept off the glide slope to try and keep it gentle. And you do need to adjust both. This is a 737 thing. In the 777, you'd leave the auto throttle engaged all the way through to touchdown. That's my... No, I can't make excuses. We're only at 500 feet. We have to just land now. Take what we get. So, wind from the left. It's just such a fast approach speed. 150 knots. I mean, this is... I suppose we're pretty heavy, but this is still a serious approach speed that even the 787, which is the fastest approaching airplane I've ever flown, would struggle to sit at 150. Probably should have gone for a full flap landing on this. It just comes roaring in. On a hot, high or heavy day, this could be quite a challenge.
50, 30,
idle.
10.
Trying to be gentle with it. Bit of right rudder. There's touchdown. You can hear the different noises. That's the noise cancelling being a bit funny. Not convinced about it there. It was nice in the cruise, but on landing there, that was quite confusing. Didn't get the same audio cues. That's the reversers running. Let's just get the normal sounds. There we go. Right. Something went wrong with the speed brakes there. They didn't fully arm. I don't know why, but there we go. No doubt I've made a mistake. Welcome back to the ground in Faro. Yeah. I mean, the 737 from PMDG has been one of my favourite landing aircraft. It's quite twitchy, but it's possible to really sort of feel it in the flare, and you do have to really fly those engines with the thrust changes. Good fun, very different, a very different feeling aircraft to the Airbus, certainly. So there we go, that's all for today's video, just showing you a work in progress build of the PMDG 737-800 from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, coming soon. As I said at the start, this aircraft is available for purchase soon enough for Flight Simulator 2024. If you have it already for 2020, there'll be a discount on it for 2024. And it is obviously the 800 variant, and you saw all those different versions that you get with it. But this is just for me to show you what it looks like in the simulator, some of the new features, and hopefully have a bit of fun as we fly around in the 737. Not something we do very often on this channel. There'll be plenty more videos, guides and live streams coming to the channel soon, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.